right, guys, our next guest, this girl is such a supporter of the show. We cannot thank her enough. It really means the world when our guests reach out to us and let us know how much, and our fans, I guess you could say, reach out and let us know how much they're enjoying the show. So getting the messages from our next guest was really exciting for us, especially in our starting phase. So without further ado, our third guest today is Mindy. Hey, girl, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
For sure. Glad
I
to be
really
here.
I'm so excited that you immediately like, yeah, I'll be a part of it. And you have just been such a support. And we honestly love the feedback because obviously everyone knows that we have really bad anxiety. So every time we launch a show, me and Kayla sit here and sit in anxiety. And it's really great when people settle those fears by saying, "Lab, we like the show. We like what you're doing." So thank you very much for being a voice in our community. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So, before we get started today on the questions of the topic at hand, can you give our community a little bit of an idea of who you are?
For sure. I'm Mindy. I'm 34. I've been in Grand Prairie for about 14 years now. Um, I have been working out in the field for about 7 years, so having to do a lot of stuff on the road. I do a lot of workouts in the hotel and such. I did take a break from 2011 to 2013 and do a 2 year fitness diploma. I had dropped about 70 pounds at the time and was super motivated. And then a few years passed. I ended up getting divorced, going through a lot of stress, gained back some weight. So I had to go back through the weight loss journey again. I am now down 90 pounds from my highest.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
then, so then in 2019, I did my Yin Yoga Certification.
Hmm.
And I've kind of just been keeping up on my international training certification. Every year I have to do credits. So I'm not working in the industry at the moment, but still keeping that up to, do on the side, make workout programs here and there. But I work in the medical field at the moment. So,
And as a passion, right? Like, so
hmm
that's I love that, and it's when you can just know that you don't have to be actively teaching, but just absorbing and being there for people, especially people around you and like your friends and stuff. I find that's my favorite part. Like, I'm not in the industry, I'm not actively doing it, but I'm always here to help my friends and help people I know. And just having that is sometimes more than enough. It kind of like soothes your like teaching a little bit.
yeah, it's more of a hobby and something you still enjoy doing, not a job you have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump right in, because I know we have a good and bad things to talk about when it comes to fitness, and we're really excited to hear everyone's experience and all around good and the bad. So, how is or was fitness a part of your life?
Well, as a kid, I didn't play many competitive sports, but I did swimming lessons, karate, gymnastics, snowboarding, downhill skiing, rollerblading, pretty much, all the independent activities. Um, and then I think it was probably around grade 5 or 6, I got interested in the gym. We had one just kind of down the street and around the corner from where I live. So, um, I just grade 5, I had the lady at the gym kind of show me around, teach me about the equipment, and I started using it fairly young.
That's so
Um,
cool.
so it's kind of been on and off over the years through high school, and that I kind of didn't do as much. And then, after college years and stuff like that, I kind of got back into it. So,
It's that's incredible to do because at that age, I don't think I even had like the mental capacity to understand like it was just like I had to go to the gym and like it's not that I didn't hate it and I like sports, but I never would have thought about like going to the gym and that's such a great tool and such a great place to learn a lot about yourself at a young age and develop good habits.
yeah, I think for me, it was not really liking the team environment. I was more of I don't want to say a loner. I did have friends, but I was more, to myself and didn't really like the team stuff. And it was just nice to be able to do things on my own. And I kind of always been that way.
I get that. I get really bad anxiety. Like I like teamwork, but then I'm the same way. Sometimes it's just really nice to thrive on your own. It settles my anxiety a little bit more when I'm by myself. I mean, I
Hmm.
probably stress myself out, but no, I get that. And it's so there is a lot in sports that you can kind of just do your own thing and have your own goals and focus it. Like a lot of sports don't always have to be team oriented. And I love the diversity of that. So it kind of can fit all sorts of people, right? And all sorts of
Yeah, I
some
think
people
rather
like
than
team and some hate it.
competing against another team, or, you know, trying to be better than your teammates, or, you know, there's always that element of competition when you're playing a sport. Whereas if you're just going to the gym, like, I mean, you could make other people your competition, but you're more than likely competing against your last record or your last time on something, right? So
Yeah, I
you're
really
kind of
like that.
setting your own pace, and you're not comparing yourself to, you know, anybody else. I mean, yes, people
Yes.
do for sure,
Yeah, I get what you're
but
saying though.
if you're focused on your workout and you're focused on competing
Yeah.
with your own numbers or your own times or goals,
Yeah.
it's just a little bit different that way. It's more self focus.
Yeah. And in your mind and in your head when you're in the gym, that's more of like a mental workaround. Whereas when you're on a team or going into games and stuff against other people, there's usually judges and refs and someone wins and loses. You know, it is a definite a different mind fuck, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really fail or lose a workout. You're always going to
No.
leave with more than you went in with, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think even on my shittiest workout, I don't think I've ever considered it that bad because I was like, hey, you moved your body and that's a positive,
mhm.
even if it's shit. So, speaking of that, has the fitness industry ever affected your body image, either positively or negatively, or both?
Yeah, I would say both. Positive, I did go through quite a bit of weight loss. So it brought me the results that I wanted, and helped me with some of the struggles that I had prior, like,
Oh, that's
you know,
awesome.
shopping for clothes, or things like that. Activities that would have been harder before are now easier.
Nice.
So yeah, like, the result of going to the gym or being active has positively impacted it by making life easier, and, you know, improving my mood overall.
Yeah, totally.
The mindset is definitely like the number one factor there.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I don't know about if you notice, but when you start noticing your mindset change and then you see how different your life is after the change to how it was before, and it's just sometimes some things are night and day. And you're like,
Hmm.
wow, I wish I would have known this earlier.
Yeah, and I think too, in the positive is, seeing other women work just as hard, or harder than me. So it's like motivating to see other people doing it too.
Yeah,
Even right now in COVID, when you can't be physically with them, you can see online. A lot of people are sharing what they're doing.
totally.
So it just helps you stay with a positive mindset. And then seeing their bodies and what they can do, and, you know, wanting to be stronger like they are, or faster like they are, it can be a motivating tool.
Absolutely. It's the kind of like inspiration, right? Just how artists look at, have scenes or niches and things that inspire them. And I feel like it's the same thing in the fitness industry. And I know for me, I've definitely gone in the negative for the comparison game. But on the good days when things are better and that's not as much of a focus, turning that, what would be jealousy before into inspiration is a huge, huge mindset shift. That's been a positive out of the fitness industry for me, or learning how to find the positives, or you know what I mean.
Yeah, so I mean, like, you could look at people as motivation, or you could use them as demotivation. It's all in how
Totally.
you're perceiving it. The biggest thing that I started to do was, because of the comparisons that were happening, was every time I thought something about someone else, something that, you know, I wish I had that, or I really like that about them, or anything like that, starting to do the comparison, I told myself that I would have to give myself three compliments or three comments that were positive, for everyone that I put out for somebody else.
I love that. And it's such a, if you feel so good after you start doing that after a while, and you calling yourself out, and then you start reworking how, and then you don't react that way as much anymore. It's not your initial thoughts. And then it's also like a good self-reflection too, right? And I think a lot of people don't realize when they see a lacking or see something in someone that they want, they feel that, how do I say that? They feel like they're lacking that when they see that in someone else, right? And so you can either take that as motivation to try to get to that and learn from that person and absorb that good energy, or you can like kind of do the comparison game, and it's kind of I don't know, I float with that line a lot. Not a lot, getting
Yeah.
better.
I almost do both. I
Right?
see the good in them, and you can start to get jealous and want to compare, but then you can also do what I do and bring in those comments for yourself, and then it kind of cuts that to a neutral
Totally.
stance. So,
Absolutely. And that's such a great tool. And so if anybody obviously is struggling with that, and myself too, I'm going to definitely imply that as well. I'm that way when I look at pictures now, because I don't know if you ever do this, if you look back at photos, maybe even 3 months ago to like 6 years ago, or some spot where you were looking at yourself and not loving it. And then you look at now and you think, oh my goodness, like you look so great. Why would you do like, it's, you always look back and you always appreciate it. So I'm trying to think of that mindset when I'm looking at photos now, right? If you're having it, if you don't like it, be like, you know what? In 3 months, I'm probably going to love this picture. It's
yeah,
just
for sure.
reworking your mindset to have a better, safer environment inside your head.
Hmm.
So would you say, was there any negative effect to you, or has it been mostly positive?
The negative would be, like we said, following other people's journey and doing the comparison thing. So just finding a way to kind of flip that in your mind is what I found has worked. Um, but just being mindful of who I follow, I think, is the biggest thing as well.
Oh yes, absolutely. And it's I love following people that are just so like honest and real. Obviously, the name of the podcast, but I just it makes me feel so safe to do the same thing, especially on days when I feel like, okay, maybe you shared a little bit too much. Maybe you're a little bit vulnerable, like, oh my goodness, what are people gonna say? And then you go on and you're surrounded by other women like owning their truths in whatever field they're in, and it makes you feel so much better just owning it yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. Have you ever had people make comments about your body in the fitness space before?
I was kind of thinking back, and the story that came to mind first was all the way back to gymnastics. I don't know how old I was, maybe 7, 8, somewhere around there.
Right on.
Um, yeah, so pretty young. And I was in gymnastics for a few years, and I was a chubby kid, but now, like looking back, I'm like, I wasn't actually that big.
No, you
But
probably had muscles and were ripped.
at the time I was, a chubby kid, and we had to wear like the gymnastics like onesies with the sleeves.
Yeah.
So, you're not wearing a lot,
That's
and
not it doesn't look, is it comfortable? I just have to, I'm curious.
no,
I,
I
I
don't
feel
think so.
I feel like your front bum is gonna have like a little bit of anger through that. I don't know.
Yeah, we were pretty young, but I
Yeah,
don't think it
that's
was very
true.
comfortable.
I think I'm just thinking of as an adult, like, damn, I don't know. But then bodysuits, I guess. Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
So, yeah, so we had to order in new suits, and I remember this part so clearly. My gymnastics coach pulled me aside the next time that we went in and was like, "Oh, I need an extra $2 for your suit. The pricing was wrong. So basically, could you let your mom know, right?" And she was saying how it was because my suit was a little bit bigger than the rest. And
Oh,
later, she found out that the price was actually just increased. So she came back and was like, "Oh, you know what? It was my mistake. All of the prices have went up." And, like as a kid, for some reason, I just remember that so
uh,
clearly.
that's very fair. That is a terrible delivery, terrible adult thing to do. Yikes. I'm sorry for her. That could have been something, even if that was true, which I'm sure it wasn't, she could have like relayed that to your mom, and or even to you, just saying, hey, like, I don't know, wow, that's just
Yeah, I was
uh,
kind of
shocking.
surprised, like now to look back and be like, why didn't she ask my mom? Like, I'm not old
Yeah.
enough to pay for things, but
Like, how sensitive kids are as it is, young girls, like it, like, and even if, like, I'm sure you weren't, but if you were feeling that way, you are now just learned that your insecurity was just validated by some woman that doesn't really matter, but it still hurts,
yeah,
and
I
you've
don't think
obviously
at the
carried it.
time at the time, I don't think I had any insecurities. I don't think
No,
I noticed that that was a thing until she said that.
that's
And then I
fair.
was like, oh, yeah, I am bigger than the other kids. Or, you know, then I
Yeah.
started to like look at other people and say, oh, maybe it is me. And, you know, like any normal person these days would just pay the $2 and not even say anything like on behalf of someone else. You know, it's $2.
Yeah,
Like I
totally.
wouldn't even want to have that conversation. But
It's not worth it. Be like, okay, or push back on the people and be like, I don't know. I just that's wild. Isn't it crazy when you just think back and you just remember it like it was yesterday? And I'm always curious why that is. I don't know if it's just because like have you ever revisited that memory? Like is it
it's
that
kind
maybe
of just something that's come up like in the last little bit. I've kind of been going back to my childhood and dissecting little bits and pieces of it. And
yeah. Me
yeah,
too.
it was one of those things that kind of just came into my awareness. And I was like, yeah, like that was pretty crazy. And I
Yeah.
told my mom about it and she's like, I didn't know that happened.
And she's oh man, my mom would have ripped someone's face. I'm sure like you don't that's probably why she didn't say it. She was probably just like in a really bad mood. It was like, I'm just gonna take it out. I don't even know. That was just a not thought. I'm glad that we're not talking as much like this to children, especially these days, and being like aware of what you're saying because although it could just seem like offhanded, like that obviously was so it didn't validate for you, but it was the first trigger of even like that comparison game at that age.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like
we're a
that
little
was
bit
not,
more mindful, I think,
yeah,
now.
that's oh my goodness. So any coaches out there, like let's be good to our kids and to our everybody. So outside of the negatives that you've experienced and positives, do you see any other? We'll get to positives on this one too for sure because we like the balance. But are there any negatives that you see around the fitness industry? Not necessarily yourself, but just in general that you're not a fan of?
I think comparisons, like we had talked about before, solely based on physical appearance and what we see on the internet, which a lot of it's just the photos are not accurate anyway. They've been photoshopped or angled or, you know.
Yes.
So there's just this idea of achieving perfection that actually isn't even real, right?
Yes.
So
Oh my
that's
goodness.
a big part of it for sure.
I didn't know, like, and this sounds ridiculous because I'm a photographer and I have been for a long time on the side. But I believe a lot more and I lean more towards the natural. So, as much as natural light I can use in less photoshopping as possible, which I know not everyone loves. But um, I think that's like one of my biggest shocks is even though I have access to these programs, I didn't know you could actually like Photoshop people's abs on. Like, I don't know how to I know now what the like application is in the program, but I've never used it. And I just think it's the wildest thing that people are just actually shrinking or accenting their bodies through an app and posting it as if that's real life. Like, I mean, yeah, for sure. Obviously, I try to pop my booty out more when I'm taking a butt picture, like, but not in a sense where it's unrealistic because I don't, and I also like to try and do the real stuff so that I'm portraying as much reality as possible so that if someone is looking up to me, they're knowing as much of how I'm getting to where I'm at as possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So I totally agree with that. And um, it's misleading and misguiding. And I think it leads a lot of people to question themselves and things that they don't have to. And, everyone's journey is different. And I don't think that that's pushed out enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, outside of this is kind of running along the same lines, but outside of the gymnastic coach, did you have any other peer coach or gym friend ever comment to you about your body or your progress ever?
Yeah, I had quite a few people tell me that I was losing too much weight. They were concerned, or, you know, that I should quit because I need to work on maintaining, because it's almost like they're projecting their fear of failing. So it's, you know, they're worried about you gaining back the weight
Yeah.
because they always have. So then they try to,
Yes.
you know,
Okay.
stop you and get you to maintain so that you don't rebound. And, you know, it's a crazy projection that seems to happen.
And it's like a toxic positivity. Like it's coming off like it's a caring thing, but there's like a backhand to it that's not really what's best for you or like what's good for you. If you were like, yeah, no, I want to maintain and balance and they supported that, great. But if you're like, no, I want to keep going, it's your, you know your body, you know your journey. I'm sure if and the people closest to you would be able to tell if it was becoming a negative thing in your life.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of people, you start losing a lot of weight and people are concerned about your health all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so like when I was 90 pounds heavier, you weren't concerned about the amount of prescriptions that I was on, or, how inactive I was being, or how sore I was. You're just worried now because I've lost weight. And, I look different. It's not that I look like I'm sick. It's just I look different than what you're used to seeing me. So,
Yeah. Wow, I never thought about it like that. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And how did you deal with that? Like, were you able, did you talk to them? I'm so bad at telling people sometimes. I'm getting better as time, but when I was younger, I could never tell people how I honestly felt. I just kind of absorbed it and was like, it's fine. It's whatever.
yeah, I definitely haven't avoided it. I've been very straightforward with people and
Good.
let them know when they piss me off. So,
Good. Getting better. Kayla's
yeah,
teaching me.
there's no shortage of that usually.
That's good though. It's important because like I've learned by just being quiet then and not putting your boundaries up, then how are people going to know? And then therefore you can't really be upset about it when you don't communicate that, right? And even though sometimes there may be hard, uncomfortable conversations, you're uncomfortable with what's being said to you. So it's equally valid to come back and be like, yo, this isn't great. This isn't it for me.
Yeah, it's just funny how many people think that it's their place to have an opinion on your body.
Oh, this is like the theme of the last couple years. I swear everyone has a comment about everyone else's body. Not everyone, sorry, but that, yeah, it's such a personal thing. No one knows what's happening behind closed doors ever, for
I
the most part.
found when I was single and dating, a lot of men, because I guess the way society is, um, a lot of men would hide the fact that they liked curvier or bigger women.
Hmm.
But when I started losing weight, when I was still single, the guys that, I was dating or whatever through the years would be like, oh, don't lose your butt or don't lose your boobs. Like as if that's the most important thing about me,
What?
you know?
It's always the boobs and the butt. Like,
So
man,
yeah, it was interesting
that's
because,
interesting.
but they want to hide the fact that they like the bigger body. But yeah, as you start losing weight, it's almost like some of them aren't attracted to you anymore. And it's like kind of a
Okay,
strange situation.
fuck all of those 100% because like that is okay, men say that women are difficult. How are you supposed to deal with that? So like I'm supposed to be a secret. So then if I try to, let's say, hypothetically attain a body where I wouldn't be a secret, then you don't want me anymore? What?
Yeah, I found some
Did I just
really,
understand
really
that correctly?
confusing situations. Yeah.
Okay, that's what we're working with. Okay, fantastic. Do better, guys.
It totally depends on the person, though,
Of
right?
course,
Like
of course.
everyone's got their preference, but I just
For
found the
sure.
few situations that were like that, it was like, it's just this weird thing that
This
society is doing.
Yeah, and I think I hate like the pandemic is not making what people do behind their doors any normal. It's just getting weirder. And now people are starting to post this weirdness online and I'm starting to get frightened. And of course everyone has preferences and right, like I totally agree with that. It's such a well way to say it is but that being said, you don't have to necessarily put someone else down, not putting it down, but like like I don't know how to explain it. I just think there's certain ways to deliver that kind of information and some people just have zero tact.
Hmm.
And it's just, okay, thank you. Next. Thank you, Ariana Grande, for the song. Thank you, next. Were there any other comments or did you feel pretty good about
Um,
that?
during like I had went through weight loss once before and gained some back and then had to go through the process again. So the first time I was actually married and my husband at the time was really supportive of weight loss, but very critical of everything else. Like, he had his own insecurities and he would just
Mhm.
project them onto everybody.
Oh, yep.
So, he would buy me clothes that were like 2 sizes too small to be encouraging
Oh
and
my God.
things like that. And it was just like,
Oh,
yeah, don't do that.
no. That's like, it's like, I see where you're coming from and like your idea, but you hit the mark or like missed the mark so much that we're not even on the same map here. Oh my,
Yeah. So there's good ways to support people and ways that really aren't motivating, in my opinion.
totally. I get it. A delivery. Like if to do that I'm sure you would have received it where it's like, hey, why don't we go buy two new pairs of pants? When you feel like you're good, like at an accomplished goal, and we'll go get some that fit your body where you're at. Like that's the one other thing that I want to change with body image and all that is buying clothes, especially nowadays. I think that's a really big mindset shift is that they're making sizes really whack, and you really have to find. We and Kayla were talking about this. Find clothes that fit your body style, because like, let me tell you, as a long human being, there's some clothes that just ain't cute on me, and I used to get so upset about not fitting into or pulling off certain clothes or whatever, and really it comes down to just like some clothes work great and some don't. And like especially with sizes right now, like it's all over the place, and society is not making it easy for anybody at
Yeah,
all,
for sure.
at all. um and I imagine you got positive comments too, like were
I
people
did.
encouraging?
Yeah, I did get some positive, usually people who were, on their own journey of some sort, weight loss or better health or whatever their goals were, they would tend to be more positive, um, toward my progress. So I
Yeah.
would find it there.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's like, I don't know, I don't know how the comment goes, but it's pretty much essentially saying like someone that's working harder than you will rarely criticize you. It's usually people doing less. So even though you don't have the same goals, I always find people just chasing their goals, doing things like whether that be like going back to school, taking a course, or doing a gym program or trying to eat better, like anything that just motivates them to change their life to be happier. Like I love that. I find that so inspiring for myself because then it just gives me hope, and I just hustled, the hustle respect on whatever avenue those are in.
Hmm.
So have you ever done anything extreme to try and achieve your idea of a perfect body? Did it help? Is there good, bad, all of it?
Oh, a long time ago, I probably tried every diet that was out there. The slim fast diet, being on a calorie cut of like 1,200 or less calories a day and still working out 2 hours a day, and being in school full time. Like, it
My
was just
goodness.
crazy the amount of stress that I put on my body without really fueling it.
Yeah. Oh, isn't it crazy when you think back and you're like, how did I survive?
Yeah. And then the products, you get sucked into the fat burners and diet pills and supplements and all the things you think you need.
Yeah.
The little pill packs with like 20 different things in it.
Yes. And then you see other people and you're just like, that is so many. Like I definitely like my vitamins and my minerals. But for me, yeah, that I used to try to pack on all these things that you need to take in the gym and drink this and drink that. And now I'm just like, I don't think my bladder can hold BCAAs, pre-workout, all this protein, all
Yeah.
all the water I need to drink to just take all of these supplements. Like I'm good.
Yeah.
That's
And I
awesome.
think too, with the macro counting, it is a great tool. But like anything, eating disorders don't just mean you're not eating. Eating disorders can mean that you are, obsessive about everything you're eating. So if you're
Yeah.
weighing your food and measuring everything and obsessive about it and trying to earn meals with your family and friends, and like, it's just, if that's how you're running your entire life and you're not an athlete preparing for an event for like, a short term plan, like, you really have to decide if that's how you want to live your life. And for
Ab-
me, it wasn't.
Absolutely.
I did it for a short while so that I could figure out my portion sizes and know roughly how many times I should be eating a day, just to make sure that I was getting enough
Yeah.
after I was done losing weight and wanting to maintain.
Of course.
Um, but yeah, it's not something that I wanted to do every single day for the rest of my life. So,
No, I agree, and I think that's so fair to say, and I think you can. There's a lot of positive. There's a lot of things that you can do in your life that are good for you, but there's like again a line where it could go into the bad. So, like you said, it's good to. And if counting macros and all that works really good for you, that's awesome. There's a big percentage of us, and I'm saying us because me, that if I have to follow like a set number, like my OCD makes me follow to that number. And if I don't hit it, I'm really hard on myself. And then I've always had a bad relationship for food, so something like that doesn't necessarily work for me. But I have, like you said, you get the kind of roundabout idea, and you can kind of start, having an idea and make sure you're nourishing your body enough, but not to the point where you're giving up all the other wonderful things in your life. Like you said, if you're going on a competition and you're on a plan, 100%, like follow that plan to a T. But if you're just lifestyle, going to the gym, trying to be healthy, I think it's better to, not have that insane restriction unless you, like I said, are going to be walking on stage in a in a little bikini.
yeah, you don't want to be missing out on times with your friends and family because you don't want to be in a restaurant where you can't eat that or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah, and I think if you look, ask a lot of athletes, I think they would tell you that that's one thing that you know, if they could change is losing out on that time or those fun events. Like that's the one thing if I think that people would say is that they miss during competitions having those times, right? So unless you're
hmm
doing it for a trophy or an award, I think that's, you know, do what you want, but it's such a great relief to not be trapped by what you're eating.
absolutely.
It's refreshing to just know that you just be more into fueling your body to nourish it to grow, not just, you know, I never thought about nutrition until I was like end of my 20s, and I was like, oh hey, this stuff is good for me. I should probably pay attention to what I'm doing. What are some of the I think we've talked about some decent amount, but do you have any more positives that you see in the fitness industry for helping people towards body image?
I think focusing on what your body can do, making goals around, like I said before, lifting more or beating your time on something, or, like
Non-scale win.
yeah, some kind of a goal that's based on, what you're working toward versus just physical appearance.
Yeah, more like
Um,
endurance and ability and athleticism.
yeah, it'll just, help you grow the respect that you have for your body because of what it's able to do.
Yeah. It's such a different mindset when you shift it. I would say from like a frat house to a temple. Like, you kind of shift that mindset of what's going in, how you're treating it, and there is good stuff in fitness and good stuff in all those things, but there's also extremes, and some of us have gone to the extreme and we're like, whoa, it's better to have a balance. It really is. Even though that's I say it all the time, I feel like I'm a broken record, but it's so true. Do you have any personal wins that you've had with your body image recently?
Kind of going back a few years, I was in some fitness classes. Um, just a group of women that would show up casually, and the instructor had really strong legs. So I think that was kind of my first mindset shift of, oh, she's got really big, strong legs, and like maybe it's not so bad that I have big legs. Like I
Yeah.
can push a lot of weight, and just watching her and trying to like, get up to the weight she was using, or like she was kind of motivating me just by being herself.
Oh, I love.
So yeah, seeing different bodies, teaching the classes, having that diversity. Not all the fitness instructors are, a certain look or body type. There's a good mix of all kinds that we're teaching there. So it kind of just helped, I think, with the body image issue that we're having.
Absolutely, and it helped. It made you feel more comfortable, I think, in yourself when you just see women too owning who they are, right? At whatever size, let's just say, because like, there's moments too where I've been super self-conscious to step on stage, and you're just like, what? Then you're like, everyone's looking at me, and then I know some people are going to have insecurities, and then maybe they'll see something in me, and then maybe they won't feel great about it. But it's great when people come up to you and they're like, thank you for bringing this to the stage or making me do that. It's nice when people can be motivated by others, even though they might not be the same, but it's really great when you see someone, let's say with the same body or the same struggle, and you just feel like it's like a bond, you know? I
Hmm.
don't know. I'm just going off in a tangent there. Do you have any advice for those struggling with their body image, either in the gym or just in life in general?
Like I said before, online, really paying attention to what you're following, who you're following, and what you're giving your energy and attention to, because that's, kind of what's helping fabricate these thoughts that are going through your head every day. So if you surround yourself with like-minded people or people you can learn from or positive things, um, your whole day overall is going to be more positive. Your mindset's going to be more positive.
Yeah,
So being
absolutely.
mindful of that, unfollow, block, delete, whatever you have
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah. It's such a I think when social media first came out, everyone was really scared to do that at first. 'Cause it's like it's not real life, like you
But
don't have to.
you don't owe anybody a reason
No.
or an apology, right? You just
No. It's whatever's good for you, right? And if someone that you follow and is making you feel in like less or not good, then don't you can unfollow for sure. I know I've had a few unfollows and that's totally cool. It's not everyone's going to love everybody at every time, and I think for me I can see like this change in always in the people I follow just over the years. For the longest time, I'd be following a lot of like say bikini models, and because that's where I really aspired to be. And then now it's more like girls that are just really into lifestyle fitness and just owning their 30s, and that kind of stuff is just really great for me. I love that. And so I totally agree. Surrounding yourself with people with like-minded goals and energy and vibes is super important to be around. Is there anything that we missed covering today? Anything that you want to add at all?
I think a big part of it would be to start with, like we said, the coaches, them being more mindful of how they're speaking, especially to children, but also parents being
Yes.
mindful about how you talk about yourself and
Hmm.
how you view your own body. Your kids pick up on it, even if you're just, tugging at your clothes all day and kind of glaring at yourself in the mirror. Like they notice those things, and that's where their behaviors start. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think me and my mom realized that for us, and she'll always say that she's sorry for that. And it's like, how would you know that? You didn't mean that, but it's so true. It's like monkey see, monkey do, and they absorb that somehow. It's crazy.
yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
feeling and having a safe environment for them to, just feel badass in their own selves, however that is super, super
Yeah.
important. I love that. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate when people come on and they share their experiences. I feel like I learn so much all the time. And I said, I feel like I'm going to have the biggest brain by the time this podcast, I don't know if it'll ever end, but if it ever does, I'm going to have a huge brain of all these experiences. And I just feel like I'm becoming more of an empathetic person. And I just really appreciate you guys coming on and being so open and honest and telling things how it is, because we need these conversations.
Absolutely. I think a lot of times what we see online is just we don't realize, what's going on behind the picture. Sometimes people will just look ripped, and really they're living an unhealthy life. And it's just so important to see past that and to start sharing our real stories and the real struggles.
Absolutely. And that's 100% why we wanted to start this podcast, is because we felt like there was a little bit of lacking of that, and that it's nice to be able to it's been so great actually every single time we have a topic, and not great, I don't know how to explain it because it sounds bad. It's like I'm so glad people are talking to me about their depression. No, I'm not. I'm not happy that people have it, but I'm so glad that people are opening the conversations and being vulnerable, like you said, and especially right now when so much is online, and that's pretty much how we're getting most of our social interaction. We're not seeing people in real life without the filters and without the ability to pick and choose what we see. And as much as we can be aware of it, it's still very hard to like block that odd consumption, or that subconscious feeling that you get from it.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think we even are aware of half of the things that affect us in a day. We just kind of absorb it and carry on because we're so used to scrolling.
Yeah, I know. I'm really trying to identify when I'm wasting my time. That's the one thing I love about the podcast is it keeps me pretty busy. So it's like I don't have very much time the last couple weeks to randomly scroll, and it's been a better thing for me. It's kind of like you have to replace that habit with something else until you break out of that because it's been really easy this last year to get caught up in that wheel of all okay, I'm going to check this app now and I'm going to check this app now and it's like okay, throw this damn phone across the room. I'm done with it.
Yeah,
But
when our phone tells us how many hours we have of screen time in a day.
oh, I put a limit on myself, and now if it like happens by like 5 o'clock in the day, I'm like, whoa, okay, you need a timeout, and I'll just put it to the side. And like when I make it to like 8 or 9 o'clock, and I've hit my limit, I'm like, yes, this was a good day. And trying to freaking rework. It's so easy to be on it. And anyway, yes, sorry, I'm scrolling again, but I can just talk to our guests forever. I'm like, oh yeah, I forget this is a show that I have to edit, and I can't keep them for the rest of time. We have real lives, but again, girl, thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope you had a good time. I thank you so much for your support. It means the world to us, honestly.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
We will have you again, I'm sure of it, because welcome to the podcast addiction. It's like tattoos. The minute you do your first one, you're like, okay, let's do this again. Let's talk some more shit. So we will thank you for this time, but we're excited to have you back. And we're going to jump on to our fourth guest of the show.